Hey babes, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mira B. If you're not, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be making a comfort food chicken noodle soup. If you are new here, I hope that you consider subscribing. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get into this recipe. I started off by cutting up my onions and my garlic into shallow pieces. I also have some thyme that I'm going to be adding to the pot as well. After I cut up my garlic and onion, I went ahead and started on cutting up my celery. And after my celery, I went ahead and started on my carrots, which I'll be adding to the broth. Once I had everything cut up, I set it to the side and began to season my chicken. And after seasoning my chicken, I let it marinate for about 15 to 20 minutes. If you can let it marinate for longer, I definitely suggest that. I love a good chicken marinade. So let's get into that. For seasonings, I use Slap Your Mama, Tony's Creole seasoning, accent, onion powder, pepper, a sprinkle of paprika, and chili powder. I also pulled out my chives, but I didn't use them. I actually forgot, but the recipe came out just as fine. I went ahead and I seasoned both sides of my chicken, and after seasoning my chicken, I let it marinate for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, if you can allow your chicken to marinate a little bit longer, I highly recommend it. The longer, the better. Typically, I like to marinate my chicken for 4 to 6 hours, but I literally decided last minute that I'll be making this chicken noodle soup, so I didn't have that much time to marinate my chicken. And even if you can't allow your chicken to marinate that long, just be considerate about the time that you'll be eating your soup. Typically, when I cook a soup, I'll start it like in the morning or early afternoon, and typically it'll be served for dinner. So that gives my soup a few hours of being in the pot and slow cooking. Now it's time to take all our fresh cut ingredients to the stove. I started off by adding a little bit of olive oil to my Dutch oven and searing my chicken thigh on both sides. I let the chicken thigh sear for about 5 to 7 minutes on each side. Now, when I pulled it out, it was still a little, uncooked, but I wasn't worried about that simply because it'll be added back into the pot and cooking for many, many hours to come. For this recipe, you can use chicken thigh or you can use chicken breast. It's really on personal preference on what you want to use. I personally went with chicken thigh because they say that chicken thigh is less dry than chicken breast, but it's really all on what you want to do. So here I am adding in my carrot, celery, onion, and garlic back into the same pan that I just pulled my chicken out of that I seared. And as you can see, I was making a mess. So don't be like me, be better than me. I went ahead and added one full bottle of, box of chicken broth into the carrot, celery, onion, and garlic. I let that sit for a few minutes while I went ahead and started shredding my chicken. Now, I didn't shred my chicken into small pieces because over time, with it sitting in the soup, I knew that it will break up even more than what I shredded it over time. So I just went ahead and just like cut it up, into little chunks, but it ended up shredding into like tenderoni pieces once it was time to serve. Before I added my chicken back into my broth, I went ahead and added a little bit more seasoning to the broth and I added some better than bouillon. I added about 2 to 3 tablespoons, just using my spoon. I also added in my thyme because I just wanted to go ahead and get that started and mixing that in before adding in my chicken, which is already seasoned. So I didn't heavily season my broth simply because I know that my chicken carried a lot of seasoning in it as well. Now I went ahead and added in my 1 can of cream of chicken into the broth. I personally don't like to put everything in the broth at one time. I like to gradually add ingredients and mix it in, and then, add a little bit more and mix it in. That's just, my personal preference. If you just rather just throw it all in the pot and let it cook down, then, do you. Now, y'all, after I put my chicken back into the broth, I was so scared that it was gonna like spill over. Like it was literally at the rim. So I let it cook down for about an hour, probably like an hour and a half actually, before adding in my noodles. And literally, when I put my noodles in, it brought it back to the same spot that I was originally at, like back to the rim. But I was okay with it. The more the merrier. I can freeze it and have some for later. I also was able to give some to my family, so that's a good win. Now it was time to check my chicken noodle soup and see how it was doing after about an hour. And I wasn't feeling the consistency of the soup. I just wanted it to be a tad bit thicker. So I took some of the broth and added some flour and shift that in really good. Well, not shift it, whisk that in really good. And then I added it to the chicken broth just to thicken up the gravy of the chicken noodle soup. And once I added that in, I just let that sit for about another hour or so and let it do its thing. Now, this step is very optional and is very personal preference. If you like your soup a little bit more soupier or you like it a little bit more thicker. This was after I had added in the flour mix and was about to let it sit and thicken up for a few before it was time to serve. I decided not to go with the crackers for this chicken noodle soup. Instead, I made some garlic bread. I just used some leftover garlic that I had, butter, Italian seasoning, and parsley, and just basted my bread really good. And I put this in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes on 350. This is very, very easy to do. Very simple step as well. And once my bread was done, I was ready to eat. Now it was time to plate my food, and I found the cutest little bowls at my local Home Goods. Not only was this a cute bowl for this recipe, but also for some of my fall recipes that I cannot wait to try. This was actually my first time making homemade chicken noodle soup, but it was also very easy for me to follow, and it came out so good. I really started my soup era really early because I've been battling this cold, so this was definitely a good go-to option, and it was so yummy. Definitely let me know in the comments if you plan on trying this recipe this fall seasoning. And if you like this video, I would love to have you a part of the community. So make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.